Hey everyone, if you are looking for some strategies to help you that you can use as early as later today, you're in the right spot.
Coffee on the counter, calendar in view. Got a room full of futures and a plan that's tried and true. I've done the late nights, I felt the burnout. Now I choose what feeds me and still brings the best out. Sustainable teaching. I can lead and still be breathing. Strong and steady, I'm increasing. Sustainable teaching. That's in the rhythm of my freedom. This is how I start my day believing.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Sustainable Teaching Podcast. My name is Ray Hewart, and we have one of my favorite musical guests here with us. I'm so excited to have you. Do you mind sharing a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Sure. I'm Jeanette Mihalchik, and I am a music teacher. I call myself the happy music teacher because I spent the first probably 10 years of my career not being a happy music teacher. And I gradually found strategies and things that worked for me. And my whole purpose is trying to make sure that I can help other people be happy music teachers too.
I love it. Our community here is, paraprofessionals, classroom teachers, all different grade levels, all different subject areas, administrators. I love when I'm able to get a good conversation with an educator like a music teacher who doesn't always get to collaborate with maybe the science teacher or the second grade teacher. There's so much we can share when we're all in the teaching profession, but we don't always get the opportunity. So I so appreciate the time because I've been connected to you for a while, and you are not only committed to helping, develop strong educational music teachers, but also just strong educators in general. And
Yeah.
I love that you're going to be able to share some insight here on the pod.
Yes, that is true that most of the strategies that I share, especially around teacher mindset and that sort of thing, are things that truly can help anyone. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Oh, so good. Before we get too far into strategies, tell us a little bit about your background, what you're doing now, day to day. I know that you're still very active working with students, but you're also supporting educators on a daily basis.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear about maybe a little bit where you started and what you've been doing so far.
Sure. So I came in what I like to call the back door of teaching. I was in video post production, and I found myself just really wanting to be in music, and I wanted to teach. And it's a long story that I won't get into, but when I went to college, I wanted to teach, and then it didn't end up working out, and so I went back. And while I was going back to school, I was, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or so in, and I got divorced, and I ended up needing a full-time job. And my mom was like, the school down the street was a elementary school that my mom was the principal secretary in. And she was like, we need a music teacher. And I kept saying, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then one day I worked with this client in video post-production. I was working nights, and they made me stay all night with him. And he had smelly feet, and he wasn't a very nice man.
Oh my gosh.
And I came home to my toddlers who were like awake. And it was like 6 a.m. I'm driving home in rush hour traffic in Coconut Grove. And I called my mom at like 8, and I was like, get me an interview. So I get this interview, and I'm like, I go in and I said to the principal of all people, what do I do? And she was like, go in and teach music. I don't even know how I got the job, probably, because my mom worked there. But so I had to go in and figure out all the things. And I hadn't had a student teaching experience. I hadn't observed in any classrooms. I was so green, and I just knew I loved music and I wanted to share. And so, that kind of, as I said in the very beginning, I just spent a long time underwater. And I think because I hadn't observed any classrooms, I sort of developed my own strategies and my own ways of handling things. And, of course, watched all the wonderful mentors and did a ton of professional development, and that kind of led me where I am today. And today I run a community called the Happy Music Teacher Academy, and it is an online membership for community professional development courses. We do a workshop every month in there. And a lot of what we talk about is teacher mindset. And one of my favorite things is to share good motivation with teachers, because let's face it, it gets harder every day, and the students get more challenging every year. And we really just need that extra motivation. And that is like my favorite part of what I talk about, on my podcast and that sort of thing. I am still teaching students. I still have guitar classes that I teach, and periodically I'll go in and be a guest in someone's classroom. And I love to do arts integration. So I love to go in and teach teachers how to include music in their classrooms, or how to include literacy skills in their music classrooms. Goes both ways. And so that's a little bit about what I'm doing now.
So special. Friends, if you're listening, you have to go subscribe to the podcast. Do you mind sharing that title again so our community here can pause and subscribe, rate, and review? We know that always helps on the pods.
For sure. It's called The Happy Music Teacher, and you can find it anywhere you get audio podcasts. And I'm also on YouTube under The Happy Music Teacher. So
I love it. So fun. We're going to get into some strategies that help make our role sustainable. So stick with us. This episode is brought to you by the Teachers Deserve It Blueprint, a done-for-you system for building a classroom that works without burnout. If you're tired of piecing it together on your own, this is your framework. See what's inside at teachersdeserveit.com. I know you have such an active community, and you all are constantly sharing different ideas. I know typically you're working with those music teachers, but let's look kind of more systemically at any different educator, whether it's music teacher specific or elementary specific, middle school specific, high school. What comes to mind as an educator as we identify a practice, maybe a choice, a trick that helps make your role more sustainable? I mean, you must have so many. I don't know how you're going to pick one.
I know. I really do. I have so many. I think my husband and I went to Vegas and recently, and I'm going somewhere with this. And we got there, and like the first night, we're sitting at the bar and having an adult beverage, and we got the bill, and it was $27 for one drink without tax. And we were like, oh my gosh, like lunches were over $100, dinners, forget about it, right? So I finally said to my husband, we need to be like Elsa and let it go. We are here. We are in it. We can't change it. There's nothing we can do. So one of my favorite strategies is exactly that. Be like Elsa and let it go. There is so much as an educator that you can't change. Music teachers have a very unique situation where it's kind of a good and a bad, where we don't have a curriculum to follow. And a lot of times we have a curriculum, but we don't have like specific day in, day out that we have to follow. So it's really a blessing because, if we need to slow down for our students, we can slow down. If we need to speed up, we can speed up. Every class is a little bit different. When you're a classroom teacher, you don't have that advantage. They're collecting data and they want to make sure you're at a certain place by a certain time. So, classroom teachers have that particular challenge. Administrators have, a certain amount of teachers in their staff. They have a certain amount of, they have students that, like it or not, they're in our building, right? And we have to deal. So whatever you're dealing with, I like to say, be like Elsa and let it go. And then the step 2 part of that is that I like to focus on that childlike joy. That, one of the great things, and I know for middle and high school teachers, it's a little bit more challenging because they don't show that on their faces. And, but if you can kind of feed into the joy that your students have when they learn something new, or maybe they're just really excited to see you that day, or maybe they have a new haircut, or your colleague down the hall has a new blouse on, or a new pair of shoes, and you're like, love those. If you can kind of find ways to feed into that childlike joy for the children, and if that's not working for you, then kind of feed into those besties, and make that, like, what are the positives in your day? What are the things that really light you up about your job? And try to think more about those than the Debbie Downer stuff that, I mean, we could go on and on, right, about the challenges as teachers. But if you dwell in that, then all you're doing is hurting yourself. Nobody feels what you're feeling inside you. And so I'm a big believer in smile until you believe it.
Yeah, there is a beauty in putting a smile on and it releasing the dopamine in your body to get you moving and grooving. And just like what you shared with, the certain mindsets or the ability to compliment others, and that's a really easy thing to turn into a challenge and say every day, twice a day, or every day on the hour, I'm going to share a compliment. And that is a way to spread joy into the space. One of the things I love is anytime I work with an educator that's in music or the arts, they are sometimes some of the best differentiators for our students. So good at that personalized support. And yes, there are pros and cons to every subject area, but I just find it to be so consistent. Do you have any tips or tricks that you'd love to share that help with some of the differentiation you're able to provide? Because I'm hoping that as a paraprofessional listening or as an educator listening who's maybe in those core practices, we can hear your suggestion and maybe tweak to find our own version of that.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I think classroom teachers, our colleagues, they know we teach every student, but I don't think that they know the unique challenges. I could go from having a pre-K class to having a 5th grade class to back to having a 2nd grade. And then, and maybe I get all the grade levels at one time, but maybe I don't. And then I also have the challenge of, or music teachers have the challenge of, everybody has a different way that they run their classroom. And that class has a certain personality. And that personality is based on the way things go in their classroom. So I feel like, we become really good differentiating instruction because we have to meet all of those students in all the different classes and all the different personalities of teachers. And I think that one of my best abilities, I call it my spidey senses. So I love to watch what the students are doing and see how they're reacting. And I really like, if I'm getting that glazed over deer in the headlights, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so not resonating with them for whatever reason. And so I have been known to stop right in the middle of class and go, you guys aren't getting this, are you? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, let's regroup. We're going to stop what we're doing. We're going to start over and we're going to do it a little bit differently. And so I think that, specialists have that ability because we see so many students throughout the day to, just reframe things. And I think another thing that I like to do on the spidey senses is I love to kind of feed into whatever my students are loving at that point. So if I see something, and I think that classroom teachers have this advantage as well, that, I know that you're more strict on what you can teach and how you can teach it. But if you can find just even little tidbits that will help your students to grasp something. For example, I was doing some pull-out reading with a fourth grade boy who was just like the first time I met him. And so I asked him a bunch of questions, and I found out that he really liked football. And the next week I came in with some books on football, and he was blown away that, I actually took the time to get to know him and bring some things that I thought he would be interested in. And I think that just observing your students, but also asking questions, ask them questions, talk to their parents, talk to other teachers who might see them during the day. Your music teacher, your art teacher, your PE teacher, we see them in a different place. And we may or may not be having the same issues, but we may be able to say to you, hey, this student really loves this style of music, or really loves art, or their favorite thing to do is help me collect all the cones after PE, that sort of thing. So I think if you can observe and you can communicate, those are probably two of the biggest things that help me differentiate.
Yeah, those are great reminders on building those relationships and the practice of collaborating with the other teachers in the building. I know so many of you are already aware of this, but with every podcast, we also create a downloadable resource to help you actually put these ideas into action. And something I'm brainstorming here that maybe our team will put together for this one is related to some sort of communication support that helps a classroom teacher communicate maybe with an extracurricular or some sort of arts or whatever teacher that really allows us, a specials teacher that really allows us to collect that information. Sometimes it's hard to have those conversations, but I wonder if there's some quick automated support that our team can put together as far as checklists or templates to help make that a little bit more consistent. So great ideas here. Stick with us. We're going to get into some questions submitted by our community, and I can't wait to see what they are. Before we wrap up, if you're not subscribed to the Sustainable Teaching Substack, you're missing out. Every Friday, you'll get an episode plus a free download resource. Subscribe for free over at our Substack. And if you have any questions you want answered in a future episode, drop them over at teachersdeserveit.com by direct messaging the team or emailing Olivia at teachersdeserveit.com. I think you're going to like these questions. I was just reviewing them. Two of them specifically I think you're going to love. One has to do with an elementary music teacher, and one has to do with a kindergarten teacher looking for support. Which do you want to start with?
Let's start with the elementary music teacher one and then go to the kindergarten one. Because kindergarten is like my favorite. I love kindergarten.
Do you? Oh my God, this one got me laughing with the first line. So okay, we'll go with the music teacher first, but then we'll get to the kindergarten one. This one says, hi, I'm an elementary music school teacher, and I see every kid in the building, 600 students, K-5, once a week for 45 minutes. I'm supposed to know all their names, assess their progress, and build a relationship, but I literally see kids for less than 30 hours the entire year. I don't have a classroom. I travel with a cart between 3 rooms. My quote unquote budget is whatever I can fundraise. And every December, I'm expected to produce what I don't like to call a concert that makes the parents love music, all while managing curriculum and behaviors. I'm not sure I have it all together, but I like to pretend I do. I love music. I love my kids, but I'm one teacher doing what seems to be the impossible job. How do other music teachers make this sustainable without giving everything up?
Oh my gosh, this is such a great question and such a common question.
I know.
So first of all, I'm going to say that you have to give yourself grace. We have a very vast curriculum, and a lot of times people don't realize how much we are supposed to teach during our day. And again, I think we have like 26 on a good year, 26 less than an hour, but like 26 times we get to teach our students. And we do have so much that we're trying to, share with them and help them learn. And I think the first thing is to give yourself grace that you're not going to get it all done. You're just not. There's no possibility that you're going to get it all done. And I think that assessing is really difficult because, it's unfair to the students to assess them based on less than 25, 26 hours in the school year, not in a day, not in a year, not in a week, in the whole year. So I think that my assessment, I tried when I was a younger teacher to really vigilantly assess each and everything. And I just got to the point where I said, it's not sustainable for me and it's not fair to the students to assess them when I'm not giving them enough time. And that's not your choice. You would definitely want to have them more often if you could. So give yourself a little bit of grace. Know that you're going to assess them however you think is best because you know them and you know your subject better than anybody else. And then let go of my goal when my students leave in 5th grade is that they love music. I want them to be so excited every time they come to my class. I want them to have a positive experience. And when they go to middle school, I want it to be like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to join the band or the chorus or the orchestra or whatever it happens to be. So that is literally my number one goal. If I get them to read rhythms, that's great. If I get them to read the notes from the scale, which 9 times out of 10 they are not doing, that's great. But if they leave my classroom with a love of music, that's all I want. That's really, yeah.
I love that. I love that reminder, setting expectations to be realistic. And also this reminder that assessment can look a lot of different ways. I know even in the Teachers Deserve It Learning Hub, we have 40 plus ideas on how to assess. Sometimes it's a facial expression, and we assess that on a constant basis. So giving yourself grace even as to what some of those definitions are of some of those tough topics. Now, I know we're going to run out of time here. Should we try and get to this kindergarten one?
Definitely.
All right, let's see. It says, I teach kindergarten and I haven't peed alone for 6 years. I'm not joking. There's always a kid crying outside the bathroom or a line of 5-year-olds who just need to tell me something. I tie shoes all day. I open juice boxes, every yogurt tube, every impossible snack container invented is something that I hate but do happily. I wipe noses, mediate fights over crayons, all the fun that I can do Monday through Friday. I want to ask, how do kindergarten teachers survive without completely losing themselves in these busy days?
That is a lot. And I will say to you that I am a good person to ask, even though I don't have kindergarten my entire school day. I can tell you that music teachers are, hi, buddy.
Alfred's going to join. He was really excited about the kindergarten conversation.
Music teachers are equally as busy as kindergarten teachers. So we can totally feel you there. And, there's a couple of things that I feel. I had a real good friend who was a kindergarten teacher, and she used to have on her hat that she only wore when she was not allowed to be disturbed, and or a necklace or something like that. Or if you're in the restroom, you have maybe a little squishy or something, a scrunchie on the restroom door, and something to just say, this is do not disturb. And the hard part is they're so little and so cute, and you want to just do everything you can for them. But if you give them really strict limitations of when Mrs. M is in the restroom, we do not bother her there. And don't answer. Don't just make it that this is my time, that you cannot bother me. So that's the first thing. The second thing I know for myself, I have to remind myself to sit down. And when you have little ones like that, I am sure, because I know I went home exhausted, you go home exhausted every single night. And, just know that that's going to happen, but also try to remind yourself to sit down. Try to remind yourself to take a breath, even if it's like literally a 10-second breathe in and breathe out. Do a little bit of, I call it bubble breathing with your students. Or there's a really cool game called the mirror game, where you literally just really slowly move your hands or you move your body in certain ways, and they mirror you, and you would be amazed at how silent it is and how focused they are. It's really good for focusing, but it's also good just to take a brain break. And then the other thing is those, like, I can't remember, Kaboom, is it? I can't remember the name. There's a website out there where all they have is brain breaks. Don't be afraid to take a minute and, like, everybody's going to sit down or everybody's going to stand up and get their sillies out or whatever it happens to be. Take those brain breaks. That is going to help you with your exhaustion.
Such good recommendations. We'll make sure to link all these ideas and any resources like brain break resources, Insight Timer might be valuable. We will link that in the blog so you all have it. Stick with us as we wrap up our conversation. I want to make sure that we can all stay connected and grow our networks. Sustainable Teaching is brought to you by Teachers Deserve It, the professional development company built on one belief: teaching shouldn't cost you your weekends, your health, or your love for this work. Learn more at teachersdeserveit.com. As we wrap up our conversation here, I would love to make sure that we can all stay connected. Do you mind sharing how our community here can stay connected to you and, of course, the work that you're doing?
Sure. First place is my website. It's called thehappymusicteacher.com. My podcast, as I said before, on YouTube, and I'm on all the socials, The Happy Music Teacher, and except LinkedIn, I think it's The Happy Music Teacher, and then there's some numbers afterwards. And if you want to reach out to me, if you need help, if you are looking for professional development for your teachers, anything like that, Jeanette at thehappymusicteacher.com.
This was such a valuable conversation. I'm so excited for everyone to be able to connect with you, grow their understanding, and also keep their collaboration going as they incorporate arts and music into all of the subject areas that we have, regardless of the grade level that you teach. Jeanette, thank you so much for all of this. I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Sustainable teaching.